We move to the second here from Gov Fuller Field, and the Commodores on top of the Wareham Gateman, 2-1. Here is Jimmy Crooks will lead off the inning for the Gateman. Jack Jasiak on the mound tonight for Falmouth, making his third start of the season. And the first start for him here at home, as the first pitch to Jimmy Crooks is in for strike one. And now a foul ball as the count runs 0-2 here on Crooks. Crooks is 0 for his last 8 at the plate for the Gatemen, hitting .269 on the season. The redshirt freshman out of the University of Oklahoma, former teammate alongside Commodore Jace Borfin, who announced last week that he's transferring to the University of Arkansas for the upcoming season. Another Commodore announcing today a transfer as well, as Brennan Malone going to head cross country and go from the University of South Carolina out west to the University of Oregon and play alongside Anthony Hall and the Ducks this upcoming season. Here's the 0-2 home, and it's put softly on the left side over to Jake Ducart at third, running throw across his body, and it's in time for out number one.
Well, what Ducart did properly there was charge that and field the long hop. If he waited back, it would have been a short hop on him, and it was a slow hit ball. So to field that long hop, you can get an easy shuffle and momentum into when you field it and into the throw. And Ducart looks much better on that play than he had earlier in the season on some of those slow rollers.
Brings up Cameron James, the other Mississippi State Bulldog in the starting lineup, and he swings through strike one here on Jack Jasiak. Well, going back to Jake Ducart making that play, we saw Falmouth early on in the season make all kinds of errors in the field and really struggle, especially here at home, which is not what you want on your home turf. As this one's lifted over to the right side, a couple of guys coming in, and it's going to end up falling foul just out of the reach of Chris Armstrong, Jace Borfin, and Michael Curiali. So the count goes to 0-2 here on James. But going back to Ducart, it seems like as a whole, these Commodores really getting more comfortable, especially here at home with the field surface and just the hops that are going to come on them. And so Ducart there with the knowledge to come on and charge that ball.
Well, they come into the night having not made an error in the last 6 games, which it seemed like, as you mentioned early on, every game there was multiple errors. They had a couple games with 4 errors. They have 18 on the season, but they've really come into their own as a defensive unit.
Drop third strike. James out at first, though, after Jonathan French took a brief moment to find that ball. So despite the late throw from him, that's out number 2 here in the top of the second.
Now batting the center fielder from George Washington University, number 14, Cade Fergus.
The 8-hitter, Cade Fergus, digs in now. Out of George Washington, playing in his 13th game here for Wareham. And the first pitch from Jasiak outside for ball 1. One of the rare first pitch balls we've seen tonight from the University of South Florida pitcher here for Falmouth. Here's the second pitch of this at-bat, and this one again down in the dirt, so count goes to 2-0 here on Fergus. And there's the first strike of this at-bat from Jasiak as he drops it in on Fergus. Fergus hitting .241 on the season. He's 7 for 29 at the plate. Playing out in center field tonight for the Gatemen. And the count runs even more in his favor now. It's 3-1.
When Jasiak gets ahead of hitters, he just seems so much more comfortable throughout the rest of the at-bat. When he falls behind, specifically in this one, 2-0, seems to just be a little bit more lack of composure on the mound than he has had throughout this game so far when he gets ahead.
Able to battle back, though, and get this count full here on Cade Fergus. Jasiak with just one strikeout tonight, coming in against Cameron James moments ago. Looking for that second one here. A guy who, in his last start, pitched really well, picked up a total of 6 strikeouts in that win over Brewster, as this one's fouled off, and the count remains full here on Fergus. You can see here it's a sunny night here in Falmouth. Temperatures today hovering around the low 80s, high 70s. As it currently stands, it's 76 degrees here in Falmouth. Not a cloud in the sky around the field. Not too often we've been able to say that this season. But the whole right side of the defense for both teams wearing shades out there because of the sun. Sets behind the third base dugout. As the payoff pitch lifted on the left side, this time into foul territory. Jake Ducart goes into the dirt, and he's able to make the grab just on the edge of the Wareham bullpen for the third out of this inning. And after giving up 1 run in the first, Jack Jasiak able to respond here in the second with a 1-2-3 inning. We're going to send it back down to our sideline reporter, Joanne Bethea, to talk about this start tonight for Jasiak. Joanne?
Thanks, guys. The Jasiak start was against where a little he allowed. So before the game, I asked pitching coach Mike Landry his decision to have him start tonight, and he said that he thought he was just last time since it was his first outing, and that he feels like the dust has been shaking off and that he's in mid-season form. And I know it's only the second inning, but something about these Wareham batters, as you had a performance against Brewster, so hopefully he can bring some of those pitches here tonight. Back.
Jonathan French leads off the second here for Falmouth, with the Commodores on top 2-1 here over to the visiting Wareham Gateman. David Adar alongside Matt Levine. Thanks for spending some of your Thursday night with us here from Gov Fuller Field. Falmouth having the day off yesterday, the only off day of the season that isn't on a Thursday for this Falmouth team. And so they'll now play 7 games in the next 7 days before their next off day. So this is the longest stretch of the season without any sort of break. Here are these 7 games in 7 days. There's the 0-1 from Clayton, and now it's 0-2 here on his Clemson teammate.
Well, with the way the first half of the season went, you'd have to guess that there's going to be at least 1 rain out over the next 7 days, because that's just how it's been going all season. Rain expected Sunday and Monday, so we'll see, but you'd have to assume at this point.
Well, the rain has really plagued Falmouth this season. The Commodores have already missed 4 games this year. And so Falmouth comes in having played 17 games so far this season. Meanwhile, every other team in the Western Division has played 19 games up to this point. So Wareham currently 2 points ahead of Falmouth in the standings, but also having played 2 more games, so getting more opportunities as a result. One of the reasons that not making up games this year is just so much tougher on these teams.
Less baseball, less opportunity to make up ground, less opportunity to get in front of scouts. Just wish that all these games could be played in any shape or form, but the rain has been not so friendly the first half of the season.
We're just lucky tonight to get all this sun here at Gov Fuller Field. Fans out soaking it in for the first time in a while. Here's the payoff pitch to French, and it's just upstairs. So French able to start off this second inning with a leadoff walk, And as he took the trot down to first, he kind of smiled out at his Clemson Tiger teammate. So he stands now at first here, and that'll bring up Jake Ducart.
Well, after not getting a pitcher-hitter college teammate matchup for Falmouth over the first couple of weeks of the season, it seems like we're getting one at least a couple times a week now, and French getting the better of Clayton now on the mound early in this game.
Another ball here from Clayton as the count goes to 1-0 here on Jake Ducart. Falmouth 2 runs back in the first, coming off of a 2-run homer from Chris Armstrong. And that came with 2 outs here in the inning as Ducart rips this one into right field, but tracking over to his right is Tres Gonzalez to make the grab. French thought that ball was going to fall, so he was hustling towards second, but he ended up realizing where the ball was and is able to get back to first in time. So he's not out. Ducart is for the first out.
Now batting the second baseman from the University of
Well, off the bat, that looked like it was headed for the right center field gap. Instead, since it was hit so solid, it starts hooking towards the line where Gonzalez was just pretty much in straightaway right, and that's where it ends up. Gonzalez had to just come in a little bit to make that catch, and almost a close play at first, but French able to read that it was going to get caught just in time for him to get back.
So 1 gone now for Michael Curiali, the 8-hitter in the lineup tonight for Falmouth. And he takes ball 1 here from Clayton. Curiali's hit a bit of a cold streak here for Falmouth. He's 4 for his last 28 at the plate. His average has dipped down to 246. Still has a lot of power in that bat, just hasn't been able to get balls to fall his way as the count goes to 1-1 here on the UCLA Bruin. Curiali was 1 for 3 in the win over Orleans back on Tuesday. Game with a lot of fog out at Eldridge Park. If you happened to be at that game, you would have seen it, and there were pictures all over social media of just how dense the fog was. Curiali was playing in right field in that game, and he had a diving catch at one point that we have no idea how he managed to track the ball, and then he made a stellar throw to home. But the tracking of the ball into his glove was as impressive as we could have expected all night.
At one point in the game, it was tough to see him from behind the backstop where we were sitting. So a couple of the guys on the field said it wasn't as bad as we thought it was because we were sitting so low to the ground. They're at least on the field close to the action. We're behind the backstop looking far out at a lower angle, so it's probably a little bit more foggy for us. But in general, it's just a tough atmosphere to play in.
Another foul ball here from Curiali. Keeps the count 1-2 as he's fouled off 3 straight balls here from Nick Clayton.
And last night, Orleans had 2 fog delays. Thankfully, when Falmouth was there was no delays or anything like that. Otherwise, it would have been a 6-hour game. But just when you enter delays like that, it's so weird that it's not rain. It's hard to wrap my head around that it's fog because you rarely see that.
Count now 2-2 here on Curiali. And it's funny you say that. I was actually thinking about that earlier today about how Falmouth has been, all things considered, they haven't been lucky in terms of getting games canceled, but they've been lucky with not having delays mid-game. We haven't had a game yet where the game was stopped and we had to wait around for a couple hours and then it started back up. The only game that started and then ended up not finishing was when Wareham came back here on June 22nd. That game went 3 innings and then ended up getting called about 5 minutes into the delay because the rain was so heavy. But otherwise, the Commodores haven't had a delay mid-game that's had to have us just sit around and wait.
That's so tough for pitchers, too, just sitting around waiting, and then you don't get to throw after the delay. Especially at the big league level, I know that a lot of guys make a big stink about it to umpires when they'll call the game maybe like 20 minutes before first pitch, and the pitcher had already gone through their entire routine. All of a sudden, they can't throw. It just throws everybody off so much. So to have those decisions be made earlier is always better. But, again, obviously you want to get the game in as much as you can.
3-2, and Michael Curiali goes down swinging as Nick Clayton has his second strikeout of the night. Curiali nodding it or shaking his head in disapproval of himself as he walks away from home plate, but there's now 2 gone for the 9-hitter, Doug Hodo.
Number 17, Doug Hodo.
So Hodo steps to the plate here, playing in his 4th game for Falmouth out of the University of Texas. He's 0 for 6 on the season, but he's put balls in play. He just has 1 strikeout so far alongside a couple of walks for the Commodores. And he takes strike 1 from Clayton. So something we see a lot from this Falmouth team, doing a good job as a whole, putting balls in play. Just Hodo so far hasn't been fortunate enough to get one to fall in his favor. 0-1 delivery from Clayton, ripped down the third base line, and that's a fair ball as it gets past Jack Brannigan. Jonathan French hustling as he's going to round third, but time's going to be called as it rolled. The ball rolled out of play down the left field line and towards some of the fans out there. So time called here. That's a break for this Wareham team because Jonathan French would have scored and made it a 3-1 ball game, and there's even a chance that Doug Hodo could have gotten a triple out of that, but gets a double in the end, and we go back to the top of the lineup.
Well, Hodo's bat comes alive here in the 9 spot. Got a good pitch to hit, and he ripped it down the line. And like you said, that's a big break because now, although it's the top of the order and you still got to get 2 outs, nobody has come across the score yet in the inning, and that was for sure French going to score from first base if that's still in play. So for that to go out of play and he only gets 2 bases is a massive break for the Gateman.
So Luke Boyers will try and plate one or both of these guys. He has an 0-1 count. He lined out to the right fielder, Tres Gonzalez, back in the first. And the 0-1 delivery home is on the outside corner, and now he's behind 0-2. Boyers has just 1 RBI on the season, so if he's able to find a way to bring home French, or both French and Hodo, be a big couple of runs here, not only for Boyers, but for the Commodores as well. As the 0-2 comes home, it's a check swing, and the home plate umpire, Mark Piantadosi, is going to say he went around. Boyers not happy with the call there, but nonetheless, the 3rd strikeout of the night for Nick Clayton ends the 2nd after Falmouth couldn't bring home either of the guys on base. So we'll move to the 3rd now with the Commodores on top. 2-1 here over the Wareham Gateman. Third inning here from Gov Fuller Field, and Falmouth on top 2-1 here over the Wareham Gateman. Falmouth looking for its 2nd win of the season here on Wareham, as Jim Jarvis will lead off the inning here for the visiting side. 9-1-2 set to come up this inning for Wareham, after Jack Jasiak was able to set down the order back in the second. Picked up his first strikeout of the night back in the second as well, as the count goes to 1-0 here on Jarvis. And make it 1-1 now. Jarvis hitting .227 on the season out of the University of Alabama, where he just finished up his sophomore season. Originally from San Diego. As the 1-1 comes home. That pitch looked close, but it's 2-1 here on the Alabama Crimson Tide hitter. Make it 2-2 now. Jarvis's brother Luke played at Auburn and was drafted by the Miami Marlins. And then his brother also plays, his other brother Mike, plays at San Diego State. So a family of baseball players as Jarvis goes down looking, not happy with the call there by the home plate umpire, but there's the second K of the night for Jack Jasiak.
Now batting the right fielder, number 3, Tres Gonzalez.
So after Jasiak gave up a leadoff walk and then a single to Jack Brannigan, which ended up scoring Tres Gonzalez, he started to come into his zone. He's only allowed one base runner since, as we go to the top of the lineup here for Gonzalez. And a first pitch ball to him. So he's now retired 5 straight batters after allowing 3 of the first 4 to reach base for Wareham. Count goes to 2-0 here on Gonzalez. So with Gonzalez reaching back in the first, he's now reached safely in 8 straight games. He also comes in on a 3-game hitting streak, so he's trying to extend that tonight, but he has one of those streaks continuing as the 2-0 fouled back, and now it's 2-1.
And that slice brought to you by Supreme Pizza, located just down Route 28 here in Falmouth.
Gonzalez, a Georgia native from Sandy Springs. He was drafted in the 37th round by the Dodgers back in the 2019 draft, but ended up choosing to play at the collegiate level instead. As the count now 2-2 here on him. Wareham as a team this year had 4 of their players sign, or 3 players drafted, and then 1 more end up signing a free agent contract. As this one is roped into left center field, and Boyers jumps up and he ends up dropping the ball as Gonzalez finds his way into second. Boyers looking at his glove after that play, and he doesn't know how he dropped that ball, but in the end, that's going to be the first error for Falmouth in a good while. And so Gonzalez now stands here at second with 1 gone in the inning.
Well, Boyers had it lined up, but
Number 9, Jack Brannigan.
just it took too much pace and had him to jump up and leap, and that's when he lost sight of it. His eyes a different level when you jump, so his glove couldn't line up with the ball. And again, the first error that we see in a while, and the first on Boyers this season.
That's the first error as well for Falmouth since the 4th of July. As this foul ball from Jack Brannigan ends up staying in the backstop here. It's just hanging in between some fencing here over on the right side of it. So Brannigan brought home Gonzalez back in the first for his first RBI of the season as the count goes to 1-1. Getting back, though, to the drafted players for Wareham. Matt Svanson went in the 13th round to Toronto. Justin Williams out of Penn State went in the 16th round to Houston. And then Alex Pham, one of the pitchers out of the University of San Francisco for the Gateman, was drafted in the 19th round by Baltimore. As this one squibbed over to the left side for Cody Colden, who bobbles it. And now Jack Brannigan is going to reach safely. We'll see how that's scored. But a base hit there for him as Colden just couldn't get that ball out of his glove. And that's the third base hit of the night for the Gateman.
That was hitting the perfect spot for Ducart to not have it in his reach, and then for Colden to be going in the hole, who already doesn't really have the strongest arm at shortstop, with a runner going to third, nobody's covering the bag. I think he just tried to catch up to him and try to tag him. There was no play at either base, really, so a smart job by Colden to hold on to it, rather, not throw it.
So runners now on the corners here for the Gateman. This top part of the lineup is what's doing damage so far to Jasiak. As Owen Diodati fouls the first pitch off. Brannigan now has 2 singles on the night, and he stands at first. Gonzalez over at third has reached each of his plate appearances, once via a walk, once via an error. This man Diodati still yet to reach base tonight as he swings through strike 2. Diodati with 15 RBIs coming into the contest, which leads this Wareham team. They don't score too many runs, the Gatemen. 78 total runs on the season, which is the second fewest in the Western Division. Only team with less than them is Hyannis, who scored 50 on the year. A Harbor Hawks team which sits in last place here in the Western Division with just 2 wins on the season, although one of those wins came against this Falmouth team here at the Gov. Here's the 0-2 delivery as running on this pitch is Brannigan. It's popped up on the infield. Everyone converges, and then in the end, Ducart comes on to make the grab. It almost came out of his glove. It started to come out, but Ducart able to hang on to it for that big second out.
Now batting the first baseman, number 45, Callum Clark.
That's a situation where maybe you try to let that drop and can maybe turn a double play out of it, as the runner Brannigan's going back to first because of the pop-up. If the hitter, Diodati there, isn't dogging it out of the box, let that drop, toss it to second, throw to first. It takes a lot to turn that way, but Ducart able to squeeze it in his glove at the last second.
Throw over to first, where Brannigan back in safely. Callum Clark digs in here after singling back in the first. And the first pitch home to him. Cut on and missed for strike 1. Gonzalez standing over at third for Wareham, and over at first, Jack Brannigan. As Callum Clark behind in the count here against Jasiak. A 2-1 lead here for Falmouth in the top of the third. Here's the 0-1 delivery as Brannigan again running on it. The throw down to second, and Colden can't hold on to the ball, and coming in to score from third is Tres Gonzalez. So that's a tough one there for Falmouth as the run comes home. You can't get the out at second, and it's now 2-2.
Brannigan had a decent jump there, so might have been a better idea for French to fake the throw and have Gonzalez off the bag a little at third. Maybe you would have had a play behind him, but instead he throws it through.
1-1 is down in the dirt. Now it's 2-1. Well, that was a tough throw from French for Colden to try and even make a play on. It never even found its way into his glove. It was just a low throw. But in the end, that ends up hurting this Falmouth team. But so similar to how Wareham scored that first run in the first, the Gateman here in the third, Gonzalez reaches second off of an error by Luke Boyers out in center field, and then advances to third on the single by Jack Brannigan and then ends up coming home to score pretty easily on a poor throw from French. So all around, just tough breaks here for Falmouth as Callum Clark ends up working the walk, and now runners at first and second here for Wareham.
Now batting the designated hitter, number 5, Yohandy Morales.
So after giving up that walk, Jasiak stepped behind the mound, took a deep breath, and kind of just looked on for a second, trying to reset himself out there. And this outing's been a bit tougher for him compared to his last at Brewster 9 days ago. First pitch home to Yohandy Morales, and he swings by it for strike one. Morales grounded into an inning-ending double play back in the first. Big part of the reason that Jasiak only ended up allowing 1 run in that opening inning against the Commodores. Count now 0-2 here on the University of Miami hitter. And now the 0-2 home. Down in the dirt. A good stop by French to prevent that ball from getting past him, as it's now 1-2 here on Morales. Morales hitting 172 here in the 5 spot tonight for the Gateman. He's 5 for 29 on the season coming into tonight's contest. And after a long look towards second, Jasiak comes home, and this one grounded over towards Colden, and he's going to flip it to Curiali, and he's safe. Now Curiali comes home with the throw, the tag, and they got him out at home. Jack Brannigan is out at the plate. A heads-up play by Michael Curiali to get out of the inning. And we end the top of the third tied here between Falmouth and Wareham. It's 2-2 as we go to the bottom half of this inning.
Yeah. You ready? Hey. Let's go. Bet. Yo, once again I'm back around. Real shit back in style. Haters reconcile. I'm so black and proud. First class tickets now. Feet all in the eye. Everybody looking down. Everybody get red when you drown, huh? Look at me up. I'm putting it down. You picking it up. Checking the models. They want us to go to college just so we can be stuck. Go to school to make a living. Or teach yourself to make a fortune. I don't need your endorsement. I don't need reinforcement. Giving you your last warning. Cause I'm at my prime. Yeah. Said I'm at my prime.
Move to the bottom of the third here. Knotted at 2 apiece between Falmouth and Wareham. A heads-up play for Michael Curiali at the end of the top half of the inning. Keeps this in a 2-2 ball game. Here with Cody Colden leading off the inning for Falmouth. And the first pitch he sees above his head, so he has to duck out of the way for ball 1. Well, if you were scoring at home, that play that ended the inning, a 6-4-2 fielder's choice from Yohandy Morales. So not your typical out, but nonetheless, Commodores just able to get out of the inning as this one grounded over to third where Jack Brannigan fields. And on the slow roller, able to make it in time out for number 1.
Now batting the right fielder, number 16, Jace
Borfin, who singled back in the first, digs in now. Borfin now with 19 hits on the season. Best bat in this Commodores lineup. And the first pitch he sees, he fouls out of play for strike one. Here's the 0-1 home and another foul ball. So Borfin, in his 2 at-bats so far, is doing a good job of putting bat to ball. Here in this at-bat, just trying to put one in play as he's behind in the count 0-2. And that's strike 3. Pitch able to set down Jace Borfin, looking as Nick Clayton has his 4th strikeout of the night for out number 2 here in the 3rd.
Now batting the first baseman, number 23.
Well, Clayton has to face 2, 3, and 4 in this inning. The part that did damage to him, at least Borfin and Armstrong did in the first. So to buckle down, attack the strike zone, get a strikeout there is massive.
First pitch to Chris Armstrong is ripped into right center field, and it's going to fall past the diving Tres Gonzalez. As rounding first, going into second, standing up is Chris Armstrong. The Florida first baseman now has 2 hits on the night. He has a home run, and he has a double. And so Falmouth now has a total of 4 base hits on the night, courtesy of him.
The designated hitter, number 35, Anthony.
Again, got a fastball down the middle, belt high, rips it into right center. And talking to him a couple of days ago, asked him which side of the plate he likes to hit better from, the right or the left. He said the left. He likes to hit right-handed pitchers better, and he's able to do that tonight. The first 2 times he's up against Clayton, a home run and a double, both to right field. He's seeing the ball well, and he's putting barrel to the ball as well.
Anthony Hall grounds this one softly to Brannigan at third, and the throw is high, but Kellum Clark able to find it into his glove for the 3rd out of this inning. So the Commodores strand 1 in Chris Armstrong, and we'll move to the 4th, knotted at 2 between these 2 sides. Well, we just had it on our broadcast, but one of the oddest moments I've ever seen at a baseball game, a car driving onto the field in between the innings. I've never seen that before. It's gone now. It's beyond the right center field fence. I think it may have just made a wrong turn on its way here into the Gov, but nonetheless, that was wild.
Well, when there's fans running on the field, usually the camera won't pick it up, but it's safe when it's just a car on the field. I've never seen that, though, but we get to show you on the broadcast that a car was in foul territory, drove into the Gateman bullpen in between the mound and the plate, and all the guys down there were just palm in their face, essentially. What is going on? I have never seen that before. And then they just turned around, did a 3-point turn, and got out of here. No idea what that was.
That's probably the most under-pressure 3-point turn that driver has ever made. Forget all the traffic he's ever been in. Here in the middle of a baseball game, that's where it comes. Well, it's a good story for all of us to laugh at and look back on, as there's one gone here for Cameron James here in the top of the fourth. Jack Jasiak still on the mound here for the Commodores. And there's an arm warming up in the bullpen for Falmouth. A right-hander's up. Can't see the number out there or the player, but... Oh, 1 now to James. And he started to go around. They're going to appeal down at first, say he did not. So the count runs even here at 1-1 on James. And you can actually see on the broadcast now, the car is moving beyond the center field fence. It's driving backwards now, though. So this driver having all sorts of issues here tonight in Falmouth. Is the count now 1-2. He's still driving backwards.
We got to send Joanne down out into center field to go get an interview with this guy. Maybe he's going to get pulled over for a DUI at some point. I mean, this guy, we have no idea what he's doing, and the police station is directly to our right here at the Gov. So maybe we'll go call them to come out on the field.
1-2 popped up on the right side. Chris Armstrong is under it, right on the edge of foul territory for out number 2.
Some people are talking to this car, at least in the window now. We don't know who's in the car, but people are outside it talking in the windows. I would love to get that mic'd up, but who knows what this conversation is about?
I think that's our GM intern, Mike Murray, who's out there with the
Attaboy,
driver.
Mike.
We have to ask Mike post-game what was going on with that. 2 gone here for Cade Fergus. And it's now 0-1 here on the right-handed hitter. So interestingly enough, Jasiak back in the second faced 6, 7, and 8 and was able to set them down in order 1, 2, 3. Here in the fourth, he's started off by retiring 6 and 7, trying to do that here with 8 for his second 1, 2, 3 inning of the night as the count 0-2 now on Fergus. Fergus popped out to Jake Ducart at third in his last at-bat. That outmade in foul territory by the third baseman. 0-2 delivery here from Jasiak, and it's ripped out towards left center field, and that's going to end up falling for Wareham's 4th base hit of the night. Fergus has his first hit as well, and so there's a runner on here with 2 outs in the inning.
Now batting the second baseman, number 28, Jim Jarvis.
Happy to report the car here has departed Gov Fuller Field. It is officially off the premises here beyond the center field wall as it makes the turn onto Dillingham Avenue and heads out. Jim Jarvis with a 1-0 count now from Jasiak. Jarvis struck out looking in his last at-bat. One of the 2 strikeouts that Jasiak has tonight is this one's going to find the gap out in right center field, and Boyer slips as he tries to field it. They're going to have Fergus round third and come home. There's no throw to the plate, and so Jim Jarvis has his 9th RBI of the season, as scoring from first is Cade Fergus on that ball that the outfielders for Falmouth just couldn't get in time. And so Wareham retakes the lead. It's now 3-2 Gateman.
Boyers just had a little trouble with that. He overran it, tried to get it in as soon as he possibly could, and then once Curiali, the cutoff man, had it, he elected not to throw. Whether there was a play or not, tough to tell. It would have been close, but now the Gatemen have the lead right back.
So Mike Landry was trying to get Jasiak to get through this 4th inning and then go to the bullpen, but after back-to-back base hits allowed to the Gatemen, and with the top of the lineup coming up, they're going to make the call to the bullpen as it looks like Chuck Harrison coming on here for the Commodores. And so Jasiak's day is done after 3 2/3 innings here from Gov Fuller Field, and he departs with runners on first and second here in a 3-2 lead for the Gatemen. We'll be back with Harrison's numbers when we come back from Gov Fuller Field. Chuck Harrison on for his 5th outing of the season, his 2nd against the Gatemen. And he comes on in the top of the 4th with runners on 1st and 2nd here with runners on 2nd for the Gatemen. As he comes on and relieves Jack Jasiak after Jasiak got through 3 2/3 innings and gave up 3 runs so far. The runner in Jarvis on 2nd, his responsibility as well. As we're back to the top of the lineup for Tres Gonzalez, who watches ball 1 come in from Harrison. Harrison on the season, he's pitched a total of 5 2/3 innings, an ERA of 7.94. He's given up runs in all but one of his outings, and that was the start that he made against the Gatemen back on June 21st, just the 2nd day of the season. And they're going to say that Gonzalez went around, so the count evens up here at 1-1. A rough outing, though, tonight for Jasiak on the mound.
Well, it started with the leadoff walk in the 1st. Then you give up a single to follow that. And luckily, you get the inning-ending double play. Come back with a lead in the 2nd. You respond with a 1-2-3 inning. That's really solid. And then an error by your center fielder followed by a single that drives him in. Just a couple of mistakes that the defense has made that have allowed runs to score. Jasiak was pretty solid, albeit gave up a couple hard hit balls and had some mistakes from his defense tonight.
The count's 1-1 here on Tres Gonzalez. And the pitch home is in for ball 2. Well, you can understand Mike Landry's hesitation to keep Jasiak in the ballgame and instead go to the bullpen, because the top 4 hitters here for the Gatemen, Gonzalez has reached in both of his plate appearances. Brannigan, the 2-hitter, and the man who stands on deck, has 2 singles tonight. Diodati's 0 for 2. And then Kellum Clark, the 4-hitter, has a single and a walk. So 8 total plate appearances so far for the top 4 batters, and 6 of those at-bats have resulted in men reaching. So the coaching staff for the Commodores didn't want Jasiak to have to work through that again here in this inning. Count now 2-2 here on Tres Gonzalez. Commodores trying to set him down for the first time tonight. And a breaking ball gets away from French, thinks about the throw down to 3rd, but instead Jim Jarvis is going to reach it, as that's going to be a wild pitch on Chuck Harrison. So the 4th run of the ballgame for the Gatemen now stands just 90 feet away. Here's the payoff pitch to Gonzalez. And it's just outside for ball 4. So Harrison comes in and gives up a leadoff walk to the leadoff man, Tres Gonzalez, who now has reached base all 3 of his at-bats tonight. And here's Jack Brannigan, who has a couple of singles on the evening. There's now a left-hander warming up in the bullpen for Falmouth. He just got out there moments ago, so see how Harrison can fare through the rest of this inning. He just needs to get one more out. As a throw over to first, back in safely with the head-first slide is Gonzalez. Anthony DeFabia, that man warming up for Falmouth. As the first pitch home to Jack Brannigan is a called strike from Chuck Harrison. Wareham already with 1 run across this inning. They've scored 1 run in the 1st, the 2nd, and the 4th. So the 2nd inning was the only time that Jasiak was able to get through this team and prevent anyone from coming home. There's another head-first slide from Gonzalez, gets him back in safely at first.
Something that the Gatemen have done well against the Commodores in all 3 games is score often, not too much in one inning, but space out their scoring.
0-1 lifted into left center field. Luke Boyers goes over to his right to make the grab, and he's able to get it for the third out of this inning. So Wareham ends up stranding a pair of base runners on the base paths, but not before one run comes home as the Gatemen retake the lead. It's 3-2 with Falmouth coming back to bat. Jonathan French leads off the bottom of the fourth for Falmouth. Commodores trying to get that run back and even up this ball game, or get two back and retake the lead here on Wareham. 6, 7, and 8 coming up this inning for Jeff Trundy's team. As French digs in here on Nick Clayton, who's still on the mound for Wareham. And the first pitch home from him, a called strike at French. French walked and ended up getting all the way to third in his last plate appearance back in the second. As the 0-1 from Clayton, and breaking ball in for strike two. Clayton's longest outing this season was his last outing at Hyannis, where he went 5 innings in a 4-2 victory for the Gatemen. He's through 3 tonight, as this one fouled back and French able to stay alive. Christian Rubeck is warming up in the bullpen for the Gatemen. The right-hander out of the University of Oklahoma. That's the first arm we've seen up today for this team, as this one is lined into left center field and has an opportunity to fall, but it's not going to, as Owen Diodati comes in and makes the diving grab to snatch it out of thin air, and there's one gone now in the inning.
Jonathan French, I don't know what it is. He can't find any breaks here at the Gov. Just one hit at home on the season, and that was a hard hit ball in the gap. And all of a sudden, Diodati, who's known for his bat, comes out of nowhere and flashes the leather. Another just a tough break for Jonathan French here at the Gov.
Here's Jake Ducart with one gone now in the inning. And a called strike in on him. So far, Clayton has only dealt strikes here this inning to the Commodores. He's really locked in. And now it's 0-2. The 2 runs that Falmouth scored came off of the bat of Chris Armstrong back in the first on a 2-run homer from him. Otherwise, Falmouth hasn't done too much. They have 2 other base hits, a couple of doubles. One from Doug Hodo and one from another base hit from Armstrong. His second time up, he picked up a double. But otherwise, the rest of the team has been pretty quiet so far here on Clayton, who's having one of his best starts of the season, as the 1-2 is just tipped, as Ducart's able to stay alive. One-two delivery is hit right on a line to Kellum Clark at first, and there's 2 gone.
Another tough break, hitting the ball hard on the barrel, just right at a defender. And you can see Clark motioning with his hands there. That ball had so much spin and curve to it because Ducart hit it so hard and so solid, it's going to slice towards the line every time. And so Clark had to go to both of his knees to make that catch and shading the sun as well. Just, again, right at a defender after hitting the ball hard.
Michael Curiali swings through strike one. That didn't look like too confident of a swing from him, a guy who, as a whole, just hasn't looked as comfortable at the plate here over the last couple of weeks for the Commodores. And now it's 0-2.
Curiali's a guy that, as a hitter, does well when he attacks a fastball early, but they haven't been giving him that because that's what he can hit. If they're going to give him a breaking ball to start, he's not going to swing, and then already he's behind. And then they're going to keep feeding him the breaking balls with 2 strikes, and that's where he's really shown that's a strikeout pitch against him. We've seen that almost every night throughout the summer so far with Curiali.
We'll see what Clayton's able to do here on the Commodore hitter as the 1-2 comes home, and it's down low for ball 2 here on Curiali. So Curiali with the strikeout back in the second is now 4 for his last 29 at the plate. His average dipping a little below 250 as he hits this one right back to Clayton. And an easy ground ball for the pitcher as he takes the underhand throw to first for out number 3. So the Commodores go down in order 1-2-3 for the first time this evening. And we move to the 5th here from Gov Fuller Field with Wareham on top 3-2. Top of the 5th here from Gov Fuller Field, and Chuck Harrison on the mound looking for his first full inning of the night here for the Commodores after he came on with 2 outs in the 4th in relief of the starter tonight, Jack Jasiak. Owen Diodati leads off the inning with 3, 4, and 5 coming up for head coach Don Snedden's team here in the 5th. And the first pitch to Diodati, a called strike. Diodati 0 for 2 on the night. Couple of pop-outs. Back in the first, he popped out to Boyers in center, and then back in the third, popped out to Ducart over at third. Here's the 0-1 delivery from Harrison, and quickly it's 0-2 here on Diodati. Well, with Harrison coming on, the bullpen now taking over for Falmouth, this has really started to turn into one of the strengths for the Commodores this season. The bullpen over the last 2 games, which were both wins for the Commodores, has combined for 9 innings of work and has only given up 2 hits, 1 earned run, and has struck out 9 total batters in those last 2 outings against Orleans. So, as a whole, this bullpen has really been locked down as of late, and that could be a good sign for Falmouth moving forward in the season. 1-2 home now to Diodati. And it was a breaking ball that he was just able to get a piece of as it's foul.
That slider from Harrison had late break to it, and then all of a sudden it zips from one side of the plate to the other on the inside part to the left-hander Diodati. That forced him to swing at it early and hit it foul to the right side, but If that's going to have late break, he's going to have some hitters sitting back on it, and they'll be fooled just a little bit. Diodati, not so much, though.
1-2 again from Harrison. And this one gets away from French. The throw down to first. A good throw from Jonathan French, who was taking his momentum was taking away from the ball and the base. And so he's able to get it there for the first out of this inning.
Well, French just planted his back foot, has so much power with the lower half, plants his back foot, and just rides that all the way to first base. Has a strong arm as a catcher, and Armstrong adjusted his feet to be able to go across the base paths with his glove to make the catch and stay on the bag.
Here's Callum Clark, who's 1 for 1 on the night. He singled in the first and then walked in the third. And he fouls the first pitch into the backstop for strike 1. Clark now with 3 hits on the season for Wareham, playing in his 6th game here for the Gateman out of Mississippi State. Harrison with that deep breath, and now it's 0-2. Harrison's longest outings this season are 2 innings. He did that in the start against Wareham and then also at Hyannis. With UCLA, he didn't have a single outing this past season longer than 2 innings. So that's right around his maximum length that we've seen from both here and his collegiate program. DeFabio was warming up last inning, but there's currently nobody up for Falmouth in their bullpen. As the 1-2 now to Clark. Gets away from French, and the count evens up at 2-2. Harrison threw 2/3 of an inning so far as he came on with 2 gone back in the 4th. Here's the 2-2 now from the righty. And a breaking ball that falls perfectly on the outside corner of the plate. And that's back-to-back Ks here in the inning for Chuck Harrison.
That late break with the slider on the outside corner to a lefty. It starts outside and then crosses on the outside corner of the plate. So the left-handers are not going to go for that. Whereas a right-hander, it's coming in towards them and then it crosses the plate. So they might be more inclined to swing at the inside pitch there.
Andy Morales takes ball 1.
Seems like so far that's been an effective pitch. The slider on the outside part of the plate to Diodati and Clark, both left-handed hitters.
Count now 2-0 here on Morales. And this one popped up into right center field. Jace Borfin tracking back and a few steps in front of the wall. He gets under it for the 3rd out of this inning. So Wareham goes down in order for just the 2nd time tonight. And we're halfway through this ball game. It's 3-2 Gateman as we move to the bottom of the 5th here from Gov Fuller Field.
the left
New pitcher on here for Wareham as we move into the bottom of the fifth. Nick Layton's day done, and Christian Rubeck is on the mound for his 5th outing of the season here for the Gateman. Last pitched on July 10th at Hyannis. All 5 of his outings now have come on the road away from Spillane Field. It's his first time facing Falmouth, and he'll face Doug Hodo to lead things off here in the bottom half of the inning with the Commodores trailing by 1. And a first pitch ball delivered to Hodo. Clayton's day done in his stat line: 4 innings of work, allowed 4 hits to the Commodores, 2 runs across, and also 4 strikeouts to just 1 walk tonight. And so he leaves his team in a good opportunity here in the bottom of the 5th with Rubeck coming on.
Clayton really only had 1 mistake. That was in the first inning when Armstrong hit the 2-run homer. Other than that, a couple of hits and a walk, but nothing doing after that. He was able to get out of the innings with some hard hit balls, but came back and stranded those runners on. That's crucial as a starter to give your bullpen the lead going forward. But just that 1 mistake in the first was the home run. Ever since then, he really seemed like he was cruising.
And he was able to set down the Commodores in order back in the 4th. As Doug Hodo goes down via the K for just the 2nd time this season. And there's now 1 gone here in the bottom of the 5th.
Now batting the center fielder, number 28, Luke Boyers.
Back to the top of the lineup for the 3rd time tonight as Luke Boyers digs in here with 1 gone. Boyers 0 for 2 on the night as he watches ball 1 come in from Rubeck. Rubeck does have a start this season, but otherwise 3 outings out of the bullpen as the count goes to 1-1 here on Boyers. His first 2 outings for the Gatemen were each an inning apiece. Then he went up to 2 1/3 innings, and then his last outing on July 10th at Hyannis, his longest, where he went 3 innings for the Gatemen. He's allowed runs in each of his last 2 outings, but those are the only 2 runs he's allowed on the season. And he struck out 8 batters to walking 3 in his 7 1/3 innings of work on the year. Here's the 1-2 now to Boyers as he kicks and deals home, and it's just outside, ball 2. Two now from the right-hander. Again outside, and the count runs full here on Boyers. Other than that first inning, like Matt was saying, Falmouth hasn't had too much here tonight. They've only had 2 base hits since then, a couple of doubles. Otherwise, they've been really held in check, but Luke Boyers able to get on here with 1 gone in the inning, and we'll see maybe if that can get the gears turning for this Falmouth team.
Now batting the shortstop,
Well, as a leadoff hitter, in a situation, he's not leading off the inning with 1 out, but Boyers has that mentality no matter what the situation is. Either swing at the first pitch and smack it up the middle, or work a deep count and try to get on, and that's what he did. He worked a deep count, worked a walk, and then now Commodores have a runner on. Can they bring him around to score, though, which they've only been able to do once tonight with runners on base.
Cody Colden watches ball 1. In a way, this game's been a little bit similar to the Commodores' last home game on Monday against Orleans. Didn't have too many base runners in that ball game. Put balls in play, but just couldn't get them to go their way. And so far tonight, that's kind of been the storyline for this Falmouth team. They've only gone down via the K a total of 5 times on the evening in 19 total plate appearances. So just a little over a quarter of these at-bats resulting in strikeouts for Falmouth tonight.
Well, that game on Monday, Falmouth only had 8 total base runners, stranded 7 of them, and only 1 scored. So that was the story. That got them a win, shockingly. But tonight, it's been much of the same. Only 2 runs across and a few more stranded. So if they keep stranding runners the rest of the way, especially if you're trailing in a game, it's just tougher to come back from as they get into the later stages.
And it's interesting, too, because we've seen at times this season this Falmouth team burst out and just have incredible offensive showings. Their last game on Tuesday at Orleans, they scored 11 runs. They scored 14 last Tuesday at Brewster. As Cody Colden goes down with a check swing there for the second strikeout of this inning from Rubik. But they've had games where bats have been hot, and then they've had games like so far tonight where there hasn't been too much action going on, and there's a little more of a reliance on the pitching staff.
And it seems like all the time when there's not much offense, it's here at home, and they play tight games. But then on the road, too, they'll win. The games they win when they don't score that much, those are on the road. It seems like, at least aside from Monday, when they don't score too much here at home, it results in a loss because the pitchers that start the game give up runs early, and they trail after that. The offense never wakes back up. But they're looking to change that tonight.
Borfman lifts this one softly on the left side. Just into the outfield goes Jack Brannigan, and he makes the grab for the third out of this inning. So the Commodores strand Luke Boyers over at first, and we move to the sixth now. Still 3-2 Wareham here in Falmouth. Sixth inning here from Gov Fuller Field as 6-7-8 come up for Wareham here in this inning. A 3-2 lead that the Gatemen enjoy here over the Falmouth Commodores. Falmouth with its 2 runs on 4 hits tonight, 1 error as well for the home side. And for the Gatemen, it's 3 runs on 5 hits. Jimmy Crooks leads off the inning here with Chuck Harrison still on the mound for Falmouth. If Harrison's able to get through this inning, not only will it be his longest outing of the season for Falmouth, going 2 1/3 innings, it'll also be his longest outing of his collegiate career. He only went 2 innings once this past season with UCLA. That was back on May 18th. Otherwise, limited to 1 inning or less for the most part on the year. Count now 2-0 here, though, on Crooks. And there's nobody warming up for Falmouth, so a good chance that Harrison ends up going this inning unless he gets into trouble.
Well, if he can keep it to the way the 5th inning was, a 1-2-3 inning, he'll be just fine.
And he's able to get back into this at-bat with the first strike there on Crooks. Crooks originally from Euless, Texas, and spent last season at McLennan College in Waco, playing down at the JUCO level, before transferring up to the D1 level to play with University of Oklahoma, as the count evens up now at 2-2. Tonight he's 0 for 2, though, with a couple of ground outs. One to Ducart at third and the other to Michael Curiali at second. Two gets away from French, and the count runs full here on Crooks. Here's the payoff pitch. Ripped foul. And the count remains full. Lights on here at Gov Fuller Field. Wind gently blowing out towards center field. And again, just about no clouds in the sky. Just a couple of thin, wispy ones, but otherwise, all things set to be a pretty nice night here in Falmouth. Finally, not a cooler evening or a gray evening or anything like that. As a leadoff walk to Jimmy Crooks, and he takes the trot down to first for the first time tonight.
Now batting the shortstop, number 13.
So that'll now bring up Cameron James. Another guy who's 0 for 2 on the night with a strikeout and a pop out for his evening. Ducart playing a little shallow over at third. Now he backs off. Now he comes back. And the throw over to first. We saw Katuit doing a lot of those deke moves or whatever you want to call it to see if the batter was going to show bunt. You think that that's what Harrison was doing there?
In a situation like this, probably not. Just we've seen Harrison throw over several times when there's a runner on first. He did that when Gonzalez walked. So that was the first batter he faced. He walked Gonzalez. The first batter in this inning, he walks Crooks. The leadoff walks, at least it wasn't a leadoff in that inning. It was with 2 outs, but leadoff walk here, it hurts, so you try to go and pick him off yourself and clean up the mess, as he does again. But I don't think he's expecting a bunt here, and the corners played back as well.
And James didn't show bunt on the first pitch to him, so likely swinging away here in this at-bat. He's behind 0-1 as Harrison comes home now, and a late swing from James as it's 0-2. Crooks over at first, doesn't have a stolen bag this season. But Harrison has had a couple of throwovers to him, so keeping him close to the bag as Chris Armstrong holds him on over there. 0-2 now to James. And it's fouled over on the left side into the Gateman bullpen. And the count remains 0-2.
See, that one, a couple of guys chased after with the glove. The pop-up in the first inning, I don't think anybody saw it down there, and it almost crushed one of their heads. So I guess they're more alert now here as we get through 5 innings already.
I'll bet you it was the car that drove into their bullpen that woke them up.
Yeah, they weren't too happy about that. Can only imagine what would have happened if the car drove up the hill on the mound. And then we would have seen a couple players chase after the car probably.
What was that incident years ago? Alex Rodriguez walking over the mound when Dallas Braden, I believe, was on, or it'd be something similar to that. As this one over on the ground to Cody Colden at short. He's going to flip to Curiali at second. They'll get the one out there, no throw to first. So they end up getting the second out of this inning as Cameron James is safe at first. Getting the first out of this inning.
That's pretty much a tough turn the whole way. And Colden's only play was probably to second, and he made a strong throw there. Curiali looked a little bit frustrated that he couldn't relay it over to first, but there was no play right away. That ball was hitting the hole and a slow chopper. So Colden made the right idea to go get the lead runner out.
Cade Fergus digs in now, the 8-hitter in this lineup for Wareham, with James leading off of first. And James is running on the first pitch as this one's popped up on the right side, tracking just foul, and it's going to end up falling. That ball kind of in no man's land over there as Curiali was playing closer to the bag. And Armstrong couldn't track it down, so the count 0-1 here on Fergus. Anthony DeFabia back up for Falmouth in the bullpen down the right side. I've wondered this about the Falmouth bullpen. It's right up along the crowd with all those eyes kind of staring at you as they also stare towards home plate. it's got to be just a little bit of a weird feeling warming up, having all those fans right around you, especially because at the college level, you don't typically have fans in the outfield if that's where the bullpens are.
So many things about summer ball. You'll literally have fans on top of the field almost, it seems like. And you'll see kids try to run after foul balls in foul territory where at any other field, really, that would be blocked off. And there would be seating there or at least a wall. So the fan engagement is more on top of players in the summer ball leagues than really anywhere.
And we see every game when we're down there doing Closing the Door, kids coming in asking for autographs, some getting pictures with the players. Just all around a great community feel, not only here in Falmouth, but across the Cape. One of the many reasons that we missed out on summer ball last year. Moments like that.
We got to start signing autographs.
I'll be honest, I don't know cursive, so my autograph would be pretty weak, I think you could say.
Just got to write it regular.
Just scribble it. Do something. We didn't learn cursive growing up, so it was in one day in third grade, and that was it, and we moved on.
Just got to remember what you wrote in third grade, I guess.
I assume you know cursive, right?
Enough to write my John Hancock a little bit. But.
1-2 is again running on this pitch is James, and another foul ball here, so we'll do it all again. Still 1-2 here on Fergus.
Wareham has shown they like to run with 2 strikes, no matter what the count is or if the runner is forced or not. With 2 strikes, it seems like Falmouth has been attacking the zone, trying to get an out. So, especially with the runner on with 2 strikes, probably going to throw a strike, probably going to throw a pitch to hit. Why not put the runner in motion and hopefully the swing of the bat is put in play?
This Wareham team loves to run. 26 stolen bases on the season, which leads the Western Division. As the count goes to 2-2 now on Fergus. They already have 1 stolen base tonight. Tres Gonzalez, as soon as he got on to start the first inning and start this ball game, didn't take him long to steal second, and then ended up coming around to score the first run of the ball game. James over on first, doesn't have a stolen base this season. There's another pickoff attempt on him. Fergus digs back in now with a 2-2 count here from Chuck Harrison. And James is running as this one is lined just... Oh, it's caught by Ducart, the throwback to first. And that's the inning. Ducart ends the inning with a miraculous double play. After the catch was made, Fergus pointed to him and applauded as the center fielder for Wareham recognized just how incredible of a play that was by Ducart to end the inning. And the double play gets the Commodores back to bat here as we go to the bottom of the 6th. It's 3-2 Wareham here from Gov Fuller Field.
This day is gonna be the greatest memory, making history. Let's go. You don't need no luck with that golden touch. Time to light it up. Let's go. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go!
Now batting the first baseman, number
Chris Armstrong
23,
leads off the bottom of the sixth.
Armstrong.
Fresh off of quite the double play to end the inning for Falmouth in the top half of the sixth. Jake Ducart with a wonderful play over at third. I didn't think there was any way he was going to get to that ball, but ended up getting it and getting the throw over to first for the out. Chris Armstrong ahead in the count. Couple of base knocks tonight for the first baseman for the Commodores. He has a home run and a double. As you watch a strike one come in, he's got 2 of the 4 Falmouth hits on the evening. And he has 2 of the 3 extra base hits as this one's lifted into left field. Going back is Owen Diodati. And just a few steps back to make the grab for out number 1. Christian Rubeck still on the mound here for Wareham. Through an inning and a third thus far. He's only allowed 1 base runner to reach. That was Luke Boyers on a walk, but otherwise hasn't been much here for Falmouth as Anthony Hall digs in 0 for 2 on the night. And a big swing and a miss for strike 1. Hall had a home run in the win over Orleans back on Tuesday out at Eldridge Park. That was his 2nd home run of the season. Or excuse me, 3rd home run of the season. And now he's behind 1 and 2. It's got to be kind of cool for Anthony Hall to welcome Brennan Malone to the Ducks family. Malone just announcing about an hour or so before tonight's contest that he's transferring from South Carolina to the University of Oregon. And so you've got a Duck right here to welcome you into the family.
Well, what better way to spend a summer on the Cape with one of your guys and then go to college with them and play together? It's already somebody you know, somebody you'll be around all the time. So that's got to be a good feeling for the 2 of them.
Hall softly grounds this one over to first, where Rubeck's going to make the play and take it to the bag by himself. So a quick second out there here from the pitcher.
Now batting the catcher, number 26, Jonathan.
Jonathan French digs in now. 0 for 1 on the night. And a late swing on strike 1 from Rubeck. You think for French it's a bit of a relief or not that he no longer has his college teammate and Nick Clayton on the mound?
If it's me, I would say no. I want to face the guys I know. I know what they can throw, and if I get the advantage of him, I get to make fun of him too. So I always liked facing some of my teammates or my friends in Little League. I liked facing up against my friends. If I got a hit off them, I'd rub it in their face. So if I'm French, I'd probably want to face off against Clayton still.
Well, I think we could say that it was kind of an even battle tonight. French was able to get the walk from him, but then in his next at-bat, French lined out. So each guy kind of had something go their way, to an extent at least. Count sits at 2 and 2 here on the Clemson catcher for Falmouth. And this one hit through the gap on the right side, and that's just the 5th base hit of the night for Falmouth. And for Jonathan French, it's his 2nd base hit at home here this season. And it comes with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th.
The other one was a double back on Monday. So
number 5,
a couple of games this week here at home, a couple of hits here at home. Jonathan French starting to make it a little bit more of an even split between hitting on the road and hitting at home.
So he stands on first after reaching for the 2nd time today. And here's Jake Ducart for Falmouth, who takes the first pitch on the leg. And Ducart not very happy about that. A couple looks down at Rubeck as he takes the trot down. That ball looked to be around his knee. So fortunate to see that. It looks like everything's okay with him.
The second baseman, number 6, Michael Curiali.
Well, this is the chance for the Commodores to do something here with 2 outs. They had the 2-run homer from Armstrong in the first with 2 outs. So you have Curiali, who's He's just slumping just a little bit over the last couple of days. Runner in scoring positions, the tying run. If he can poke one into the outfield, his confidence is going to boost tremendously.
That ball well outside as it gets away from Jimmy Crooks behind the plate. And everybody going to advance for Falmouth. So Jonathan French now at third. Jake Ducart now at second. And this is really starting to brew into something for Falmouth as time's going to be called for the pitching coach for Wareham, George Caralejo, to come out.
Well, Rubeck gave up a hard hit single with 2 outs. Very next pitch, hits Ducart. Very next pitch after that, as wild of a pitch as we've seen all season. So just a little bit flustered after the single that he gave up with 2 outs. And now 2 runners are in scoring position. Tying run 90 feet away. Curiali ahead in the count. He's got to just be thinking in the back of his head about something good. He can't be thinking about how he's been hitting over the last couple of games. If he has a good thought in his head, he can come through and tie this game or maybe even take the lead. His confidence will go up. But if he starts thinking about his results over the last couple of days, it's going to be a tough at-bat.
Count sits at 1-0 here on Curiali with runners on second and third. This is the most danger that the Commodores have had on the base paths tonight. As that one gets away, French is going to come home from third. He's going to slide, and he's safe. The game now knotted up at 3 apiece as Jonathan French able to move from second to home on a couple of wild pitches, and all of a sudden, Commodores are right back in it.
Well, Mr. Curiali's got to be a little bit happy with that. He doesn't have to swing the bat, and the run comes around to score. Now he has a better opportunity to give them the lead with the go-ahead run 90 feet away. Also, that's the fastest I've seen Jonathan French ever run, and his facial expressions were pretty funny. So I'm going to have to talk with him about that after the game.
2-0, this one outside, but Crooks able to get to it. So right now, Christian Rubeck really rattled out there, throwing everything well outside and really making Crooks work behind the plate. Jake Ducart now stands at third with a 3-0 count here on Michael Curiali. And this one in for a called strike.
Things happening with 2 outs here for the Commodores this evening. The 2-run homer in the first. Get a single with 2 outs, a hit by pitch, and then 2 wild pitches brings home a run.
3-1 is lifted on the right side and fouls. It'll find the seats out of play, and the count goes full. Kids converge on it out on the hill between some of the grandstands here for that ball. But the count now full here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th, and the go-ahead run for Falmouth on third. The pitch home, and Curiali swings through it for strike 3, his second strikeout of the night. But Falmouth able to get a run across as Jonathan French moves from second to home on a couple of wild pitches. And just like that, 3-3 our score as we move to the 7th and the final third of this ball game here from Gov Fuller Field. After a solid 2 1/3 innings from Chuck Harrison, his day's done. And then Anthony DeFabia comes on in his relief as DeFabia is on for the 5th time this season for Falmouth, and it's his first outing here at home for the Commodores. So he takes the Gov Fuller Field for the first time this year, and he'll start things off against Jim Jarvis, the 9-hitter for this Wareham team. And shows bunt on the first pitch before pulling back for ball 1.
DeFabia has been pretty solid in 3 out of the 4 of his outings so far. His last outing was the one that gave him trouble. Didn't record an out, gave up a couple of hits. Both came around to score, and then he was pulled before. He was on the mound for when 1 scored, and then the pitcher following him, Levi Wells, gave up that run, but it's charged to DeFabia. So he was pulled after the 2 hits, but he got really roughed up at Bourne on July 7th, looking to bounce back now.
Jarvis loses his bat on that swing. Fortunately, it went into the fence, so no harm done to any fans out there. Obviously, plenty jump back, but the fence stops that bat. And he's going to go over and get a new one or maybe apply some pine tar.
Maybe he'll get some spider tack on that bat.
Well, he's got something. It looks like he's going to use some pine tar, so a different kind of sticky substance, if you will. But DeFabia comes into this ball game, a brand new game, after Falmouth was able to bring home a run in the bottom of the 6th and tie things up here at 3 apiece. And I mentioned it before, but the bullpen has been so solid for Falmouth over the last couple of games. And Harrison had a really good outing tonight, 2 1/3 innings, didn't allow a single hit, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts to his name, and helped keep Wareham at just their 3 runs as the count goes full here on Jarvis. Here's the 3-2 pitch from the left-hander out of Stetson, and it's grounded over Michael Curiali at second. Easy play for the UCLA Bruin, and there's 1 gone. Well, DeFabia, part of this mustache group, which we're seeing from the Commodores now. We mentioned it back on Tuesday in our broadcast at Orleans, but several of the guys now sporting mustaches for Falmouth. DeFabia has one out there. Levi Wells had one back on Tuesday. I think, I can't tell for sure from where we're sitting, but I think Chris Armstrong at first has one, along with a couple of other players on the team.
Well, DeFabia's facial hair very light, so another guy, I'm going to rat him out, uses the mascara to make it darker. But it doesn't look that funny because his hair is the same color as the mascara that he used, so I guess he did it properly.
He's able to get it to all blend in and work. See, nobody would have known that if you hadn't told them. They would have all thought, oh, natural mustache, looks good. 0-2 pitch home outside for ball 1. I think we should do mustaches.
Wow.
You and I.
Got to get Tommy, our beat writer, to do that as well.
I think that looked a little good right there. Well, this one runs inside on Gonzalez and gets a piece of him, so he's going to head down to first.
Now batting the 3rd baseman, number 9, Jack Brannigan.
Who do you think would rock a better mustache, you or me?
I'll say you. You have darker hair than I do.
No mascara. We won't use any.
But I didn't grow facial hair until I was like 18, so.
Here's Jack Brannigan for the Gateman, with Tres Gonzalez leading off of first. And the first pitch fouled into the glove of Jonathan French for strike 1.
No one's beating Brendan Malone, though. He's got the best on the team.
And that's true. He's another guy who's part of the mustache group that this team has. We'll see if it catches on to be more of a thing with the rest of the team, but it's certainly a little bit of a fun thing that the Commodores are doing right now, especially while winning.
Haven't won a game in the white uniform yet, so they're continuing to use the black road jerseys here at home for the 2nd time this week. That's another thing. Just baseball, probably the most superstitious sport. So whatever they've done the last couple of days, they're not going to change.
A light throw over to first. No harm for Tres Gonzalez. DeFabio with the 1-1 pitch home. And it's just upstairs on Brannigan as the count goes to 2-1 now. Gonzalez over on first has reached all 4 of his at-bats today, but he doesn't have a hit in the ball game. 2 walks, reached on an E8, and then in his last at-bat was hit. So 4 times on, he's come across to score 2 of them, and he's really been the man who's done damage on the base paths after free pass from the Commodores. Check swing down to first, and they're going to say Brannigan did not go around, so it's now 3-1. So here's another question. Have you ever done No Shave November?
I have.
You have?
A couple of times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you stick to it?
I do.
That's impressive.
Shave on the night of Halloween, and you don't until the last day of November.
3-1. Tres Gonzalez running on the pitch. The throw is high and away. And no slide from Gonzalez. I think he thought that was either ball 4 or I don't know what he thought. But regardless, he doesn't slide. It's an easy tag for Curiali. It may have actually been a break for Falmouth because the throw is high and away from the bag. Nonetheless, though, Gonzalez is out on the base paths for the second out of this inning.
Something in his head just had him let up a couple of steps in front of the base and not even slide.
3-2 runs inside here on Brannigan, so he gets on via the walk here with 2 gone in the top of the 7th.
Now batting the left fielder, number 12, Owen Diodati.
Well, here's the dangerous Owen Diodati here with Brannigan on first. Diodati tonight 0 for 3, but Matt mentioned it earlier. Coming into the ball game, the top hitter in this Gateman lineup, hitting .288 coming into the contest. First pitch home from DeFabio is hit right back to him. And DeFabio with a pretty easy inning as he's able to get pretty quick outs here in the inning and only allow a couple of base runners for the Gatemen. As we move to the bottom of the 7th, it's 3-3 between Falmouth and Wareham here from Gov Fuller Field. Christian Rubeck still on the mound for this Gateman team as we move into the bottom of the 7th, with Doug Hodo leading things off for Falmouth in a 3-3 ball game. These two teams have already had a one tie this season, and it was actually this exact same scoreline. It was a 3-3 draw a few weeks back up at Spillane Field. As the first pitch home to Hodo pops up behind home plate and out of play. I can say, though, for certain, with Falmouth having won 2 straight, the last thing they want to do right now is end this game in a tie. They still get a point, but they sit 2 points behind the Gatemen, so you want to try and take both those points from this team rather than let each team gain a point. Because at this point of the season, it doesn't look like anybody's going to be catching up to Bourne, who comes into tonight first place in the West with 31 points on the season. Count goes to 2-1 here on Hodo. But given, though, that today is a Thursday, there's only one other game going on in the league, and it was between Chatham and YD. That game at YD, so an early year start there, and Chatham ends up winning 8-4. So Chatham now moves up into 4th place in the Eastern Division with 19 points on the season. But the only other game tonight, right here between Falmouth and Wareham. Here's the 3-1 pitch to Hodo. Shows bunt and ends up pulling back as it gets away from Jimmy Crooks. And so Hodo on for the second time tonight. He reaches via the walk and a leadoff man aboard for Falmouth. Something we haven't been able to say too much tonight.
Now batting the center fielder, number 28, Luke Boyers.
Just the second time tonight the leadoff man has been on. French was the leadoff man on in the second by a walk. So 2 leadoff walks for these Commodores tonight.
And time going to be called now as the pitching coach, George Caralejo, is going to come back out to talk with Christian Rubeck here in the bottom of the 7th. There's a left-hander up for the Gateman over in the bullpen. As up for them, Garrett Schmeltz out of Louisville. And a long talk happening here as everyone from the Gateman infield is in on it except Cameron James, and now he takes the trot over to the mound. And Rubeck has walked away, and so it looks like his day is done. A little bit of an interesting transition there with him walking back to the bullpen rather than the dugout as he comes out of the contest. But nonetheless, new pitcher coming on for Wareham as they go to the bullpen for the second time tonight. Garrett Schmeltz comes on for the Gatemen, and we'll have his numbers when we come back here from Gov Fuller Field. Back here in the bottom of the 7th after the pitching change for Wareham. Garrett Schmeltz on the mound for his 3rd outing of the season for the Gatemen. He's a guy who can give a little bit of length to this bullpen. His shortest outing is 2 innings so far, his longest 3 2/3. So a guy who can go the distance if needed, and his numbers are impressive. In his 5 2/3 innings, 12 strikeouts, just 1 walk, and 1 hit given up with an ERA of 1.58. And And he'll still start things off here against Luke Boyers, but a couple of throwovers to first for Doug Hodo.
Schmeltz, a native of Louisville and attends Louisville. 14 appearances for the Cardinals, 0-0 record, 5.89 ERA in 2021. So his numbers on the Cape much better so far than they had been at Louisville this past season.
And here's the pitch home as Boyer shows bump, but he can't get it down. It's fouled into Jimmy Crook's glove and then falls into the ground. So there's strike one on Boyers. Said this before, but this is a pitching staff for Wareham that really up and down has just been really good this season. Last time these two teams faced off, Falmouth had a stretch of that ball game where they went 21 up, 21 down before getting Jace Borfin on with 2 outs in the 9th. So up until then, it had been 21 straight batters retired. And here tonight, overall, it's been pretty good. After the start from Nick Clayton, going 4 innings and giving up 2 runs, then Christian Rubeck gave up a run in his 2 innings of work. And here the first batter for Garrett Schmeltz. 0-2 pitch home to Boyers, and a late swing from the TCU product for out number 1, and as well as strikeout number 1 tonight for Schmeltz.
Now batting the shortstop, number 3, Cody Colden.
So Schmeltz now has 13 strikeouts in his 6 innings on the Cape. Stands at 6'1". The left-hander, like Matt mentioned, from Louisville originally. Cody Colden digs in now, 0 for 3 on the night, but pickoff attempt over at first. Hodo back in with the head-first slide. I haven't seen yet Hodo try and run this season for the Commodores. He did have six stolen bases this past season with the University of Texas as the first pitch home to Cody Colden in for a called strike. And so far, Schmeltz has thrown 4 pitches, and all of them have been strikes. And Schmeltz really keeping a good eye on Hodo over there. He's got a little bit of a sneaky pickoff attempt. As that pitch may have been outside, but Colden fans on it for strike 2. Colden trying to avoid striking out for his 3rd time tonight. Already 0 for 3 with 2 Ks, as well as a ground out. Schmeltz with the deep breath. Look towards first, and now the pitch home. It's outside, but Colden fans on it and making now 6 pitches from Garrett Schmeltz, all of them strikes, and there's 2 gone.
Oh, he's just dominant right now, and throwing out of the zone too, getting guys to swing and miss on pitches that aren't strikes. That's going to help him throw less pitches. It's going to help him get ahead in counts as well.
Here's Jace Borfin now with 2 gone here in the bottom of the 7th. And another throw over to first. Borfin tonight is 1 for 3. Singled in the first and came home to score on the Chris Armstrong home run over to right. As that's now 7 pitches on 7 strikes here for Garrett Schmeltz. Schmeltz really locked in here coming in after Hodo started the inning off with a walk from Christian Rubeck. Make it now 0-2. Borfin trying to avoid being the 3rd batter to strike out this inning for Falmouth. Here's the 0-2 delivery from Schmeltz, and it's strike 3. It's an immaculate inning from Garrett Schmeltz, who comes in after Christian Rubeck gave up the leadoff walk. Schmeltz delivers an immaculate inning of his own, and we'll move to the 8th now after 9 pitches and 9 strikes from the Louisville left-hander. The 8th inning here from Gov Fuller Field, and it's still a 3-3 ball game between Falmouth and Wareham. And Anthony DeFabia still on the mound for the Commodores as he works into his 2nd inning of the night. He'll take on Kellum Clark to start off the inning as 4, 5, and 6 set to come up here for the Gatemen. Gatemen scored each of their runs on Jack Jasiak. A run in the first, a run in the third, and a run in the fourth is how they got their 3 runs tonight. And then Chuck Harrison came on for 2 1/3 innings. Didn't give up a hit, just 2 walks. And then so far, DeFabia has been pretty good for Falmouth. As strike one's called on Kellum Clark. Clark tonight is 1 for 2. Singled in the first, then walked in the third, and then struck out looking back in the 5th. And he's ahead now 2-1. Well, so Matt, we just saw, albeit in unconventional form, but in the last half inning, Schmeltz came out of the bullpen and delivered an immaculate inning for Wareham. Granted, it came after a base runner reach, but nonetheless, 9 pitches, 9 strikes.
Well, that was his outing because the runner got on by Rubeck's walk. So he comes in, 9 pitches, 9 strikes. Despite it not being to start an inning, it was a complete inning for him. He did record every out, and he recorded every strike. So that is one of the most impressive first innings out of a bullpen that I've seen here on the Cape, and just dominance from Schmeltz.
We can cross that off of our baseball bucket list to see. And quite honestly, that may be the last time I ever see one because they are so rare and so few and far between. But Schmeltz was dealing on the mound against the Commodores. Count full here on Kellum Clark. And DeFabia drops in strike 3. Perfect location from the Stetson left-hander as he picks up his first strikeout of the night.
Now batting the designated hitter, number 5, Yohandy Morales.
So that's now 11 strikeouts on the year for Anthony DeFabia. And that brings up Yohandy Morales here for Wareham. And the first pitch he sees, he lines into right field, but an easy out for Jace Borfman, who just has to take a couple steps in. And the Arkansas Razorback makes the grab for out number 2.
Now batting the catcher.
So
number
DeFabia,
8,
who was
Jimmy
roughed
French.
up in his last outing at Bourne, where he came on with Falmouth having a 2-0 lead. And then in the end, the Commodores ended up dropping that game by a final of 4-2. DeFabia was only in for 2 batters, and he had given up a double and a single in the first run of the ball game before he was yanked. But tonight and the other 3 outings he's had this season, he's been really good for Falmouth, and continuing that trend here tonight as the count sits at 1-1 here on Jimmy Crooks. Making out 1-2.
DeFabia is just the definition of a crafty left-hander. His fastball isn't hard, and it's not as hard as most guys on the team, but he's got the breaking stuff to back it up. Just has craft to his pitches, and that's why he's effective on the mound.
And he's ahead here 1-2 here on Jimmy Crooks. Here comes the delivery from the left-hander, and a good stop by Jonathan French. Count now 2-2. DeFabia also has a 2-0 record on the year. Picked up wins in each of his first 2 outings. Back on June 21st at Wareham, and then at Hyannis on June 25th as Cody Colden fields this one on 1 hop. The long throw for the shortstop in time for the 3rd out. A 1-2-3 inning that's worked by Anthony DeFabia. And we'll go into the bottom half of the inning. Falmouth trying to get that 4th run and jump on top of the Gateman here from Gov Fuller Field. Bottom of the 8th here from Gov Fuller Field, and the Commodores are going to hope that Garrett Schmeltz just throws a ball, because he came on in relief of Christian Rubeck in the 7th after Rubeck had given up a leadoff walk to Doug Hodo, and Garrett Schmeltz threw 9 pitches, all of them strikes, for an unconventional, immaculate inning. And hey, there's a ball. So it's now 1-0 here on Armstrong.
Didn't know he could throw balls.
I think the dugout also was a little excited to hear that for the Commodores. As now it's 1-1 here on Armstrong. Armstrong tonight 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer and then a double as well. Armstrong, Hall, and French set to come up this inning for the Commodores. All guys with power in their bat and trying to give Falmouth the lead. This is a game the Commodores would love to win and take points from Wareham. If Falmouth can somehow find a way to win this game, the Commodores would jump into a tie for 3rd place in the standings alongside Wareham. Each would have 18 points.
But the interesting part about that is that the Commodores would have more wins. So I think in that case, they would have, well, they would have the tie. I guess the tiebreaker would be head-to-head anyway, so they would have that either way. But they would have more wins, too, than Wareham. Wareham currently with already 2 more games played than Falmouth, both of them being ties.
We know that the points are still the primary method of determining playoff seeding this year. I don't know that we've gotten quite the clarification, though, on what that next or what that first tiebreaker is. We had heard winning percentage. I'm not sure if head-to-head's being used. We're going to try and figure that out down the stretch, because as it currently stands, there could potentially be a tie between Katuitt, Wareham, and Falmouth, or one of those or 2 of those teams, just with how tight the standings are right now.
Yeah, Katuitt right now 10-9 with 20 points. Wareham 7-8-4 with 18. Commodore 7-8-2 with 16.
Payoff pitch is crushed down the left field line, but it's going to be foul as it hooks into the trees. Straighten that swing out, and it's gone, but count remains full.
Well, Armstrong nearly did it again, homering from both sides of the plate in the same game. He did it at Brewster. That one just a little bit too far out in front. This time goes into left field.
Here comes another payoff pitch from Schmeltz as the left-hander deals home. And it's a breaking ball down in the dirt. And for the third time tonight, Falmouth has the leadoff man aboard, and it comes here in the bottom of the 8th. So Armstrong on for the 3rd time tonight, and that's now going to bring up Bryson Ware as a pinch hitter for Anthony Hall.
Bryson Ware.
So Bryson Ware is going to dig in here for Falmouth as a pinch hitter. An interesting move here by Jeff Trundy to bring on Ware, who's been quieter at the plate this season for Falmouth. Has just 2 hits on the year. He's 2 for 30 at the plate, hitting .067 on the year. His last hit coming out YD on July 5th. He's behind 0-1 here, with Chris Armstrong leading off of first. And now count 1-1. One now from Schmeltz. And Ware behind 1-2. Oh, in Ware's 30 plate appearances so far on the season, he's struck out in half of them, 15. And he only has 4 walks on the year, so any way here that the Auburn product can find a way to get on base. 1-2 now from Schmeltz. Inside, and the count runs even here on Ware. One of the hits that Ware has this season, a home run. That was his hit at YD back on July 5th. So he does have the power. Here comes Schmeltz now, and this one popped up behind home plate and out of play. So we're able to stay alive. We're here just trying to get on base any way he can, advance. Armstrong over at first. Armstrong represents the go-ahead run for Falmouth here in a 3-3 ball game in the bottom of the 8th. And another foul ball. A good at-bat that Bryson Ware's putting together.
That's the one pitch to hit he got and fouled it off into the back of the backstop on a line drive. That's how you know he's right on it. But just something that's not clicking for him to barrel it up and put it in play. If he puts that in play, it's probably a single up the middle with how hard he hit that back into the backstop.
Well, Ware's been able to now make the count run full as it's 3-2 with nobody out here in the bottom of the 8th. So after falling behind early in the at-bat, Ware has slowly worked it back into his favor, and see now what comes from Schmeltz, who's only given up 1 walk so far on the year. And that's outside, so a couple of walks here in this inning, and all of a sudden, Falmouth may be in business with runners on first and second, still nobody gone.
And nobody's up right now in the Gateman bullpen. Probably going to get Caralejo to come out, and they will. And now they might get somebody up tossing. But the go-ahead run is on second base with no outs here in the 8th. Commodores have to attack. We've seen time and time again late in games where they strand runners on. A couple of nights ago against Catuit, they strand the bases loaded with nobody outs in the first, and then strand tying run on third, winning run on second with nobody outs in the 9th. With no outs again. So same situation, similar here at least in the 8th. Runners on first and second. Go-ahead is on second, and with nobody out, you got to find a way to bring them around to score.
Well, everybody at the edge of the dugout for Falmouth just watching intently to see if Falmouth can steal a game late. We've seen them be in games late down the stretch this season, most notably against Catuit back on Sunday, and they just couldn't get that game-tying run and potentially even winning run home. But tonight, it feels like the team's in it. They've got a couple of guys on here with nobody out and still have some time left. It just feels like tonight could be that night for the Commodores.
Well, it's going to have to come with this bottom part of the order as French, the 6-hitter, comes up. Then Ducart, who's been struggling a little bit. Michael Curiale struggling a lot behind him. At some point, one of these guys is going to have to see one fall for them. That's going to get them going, and it's going to be in a big spot this late in the game to give them the lead.
Well, here comes Jonathan French, who's 1 for 2 on the night. Picked up a single and came around to score the 3rd run of the ballgame for the Commodores back in the 6th. He shows bunt to start off this at-bat, and Schmeltz isn't going to even deal to him.
Brannigan at third plays in on the grass, and the first baseman Clark also up on the grass.
Chris Armstrong at second, Bryson Ware at first for Falmouth. Here's the first pitch to Jonathan French, and the bunt down the third base line, but foul. And so we'll do it again. I haven't seen too many sack bunts this season from this Falmouth team. Commodores with not a lot of experience in this position, but French able to get this one down the third base line. A really good bunt as the throw from Jack Brannigan in time for the first out, but the big story there, Chris Armstrong moves to third. Bryson Ware is now at second, and there's only one gone here in the inning.
That's a really good bunt from French to get down. It stays just fair. Now you got one out, tying, or the go-ahead run rather, on third base, 90 feet away from scoring. Somehow you got to get a ball through the infield that's probably going to play up in the grass, and they will. You have to get a ball either on the ground through or in the air to fall into the outfield.
So So that was actually the first sack bunt of the season for Falmouth. As now digging in is Jake Ducart. Ducart tonight is 0 for 2 with a couple of lineouts and was hit by a pitch back in the 6th. But he coming into tonight hitting .256, went 2 for 4 back on Tuesday at Orleans. So trying to get that bat going again as he's ahead now 2-0. Well, Schmeltz, who was so dominant back in the 7th, 9 pitches, all of them strikes in an immaculate inning. But here in this inning, a couple of walks he's given up, and he's behind here on Ducart 2-0. And before anything can continue, Jimmy Crooks is going to go talk with the pitcher here. And Schmeltz trying to get on the same page. Schmeltz really falling behind here in the inning, and everything that has happened so far has been from his arm. It hasn't been from the bats of the Commodores. It's just been from what he's thrown to them. A 3-0 count here on Jake Ducart with runners on second and third for the Commodores in a 3-3 ball game. Pitch home from Schmeltz, and it's inside a 4-pitch walk that he gives up to the Oregon State Beaver. And so the bases are now loaded here for Brennan Malone. The Commodores dugout going crazy over to our right. As Brendan Malone's going to pinch hit here for Michael Curiale. A big spot here. We've talked all season about the potential for Malone, and this could be his opportunity as time's going to be called again here for the pitching coach George Caralejo to come out. And we're likely going to see the day done here for Garrett Schmeltz. So the script has been flipped for him. 9 pitches, all of them strikes in the 7th for an immaculate inning. And he's faced 4 batters here in the 8th. He's given up walks to 3 of them, and the bases are loaded as we'll step aside here from Gov Fuller Field. And Brendan Malone will step to the plate with just 1 gone in the inning when we come back after this break from Gov Fuller Field. Kevin Azey, the new arm on the mound for Wareham as he comes on in a big spot here in this ballgame. It's the bottom of the 8th. Falmouth has the bases loaded, and there's just one gone as Brendan Malone will step to the plate as he pinch hits for Michael Curiali here in a 3-3 ball game. Malone on the season, hitting 188 with 3 RBIs. And he comes up here with the go-ahead run on third for the Commodores. Here's the first pitch from Azey, and it's a breaking ball in for strike 1. Azey, this is his 3rd outing of the season for the Gateman. Has pitched 2 2/3 innings so far, and has struggled a bit. 4 hits given up, a 6.75 ERA. But all of these runners on credited to Garrett Schmeltz as another breaking ball, and now the count 1-1. So all 3 runners that reached for Falmouth when Schmeltz was still on the mound this inning came via the walk. Here's the 1-1 delivery now to Malone, another breaking ball, and this one's able to find the outside corner. So 3 pitches and all of them breaking balls so far from Azey.
Well, he's locating them, and Malone wants a fastball to hit here with the bases loaded and 1 out. So he's laid off of all of them, and now he's behind in the count. He's going to have to protect with 2 strikes and shorten up.
1-2 delivery. Swung on and missed, and a big second out there for Wareham as Azey comes on and picks up just his 2nd strikeout of the season. And that's going to now bring up Doug Hodo for the Commodores.
Number 17, Doug Hodo.
So Falmouth has had the bases loaded this season. They had so back on Sunday against Katuitt, and in the end, they ended up stranding the bases in the bottom of the 1st. They got the first 3 guys on and then had 3 straight outs. There's a breaking ball there that the Commodores dug out, not happy about, but it's in on Doug Hodo for strike 1. Here's the 0-1 delivery. A check swing. And they're going to say he did not go around. So the count runs even here at 1-1 on Hodo, who steps in having picked up his first base hit of the season for the Commodores earlier in this ball game. A double back in the 2nd. They could have potentially been a triple, but it ended up getting out of the ballpark, so it was a ground rule double. And then he also walked in his last at-bat in the 7th. Chris Armstrong's at 3rd, Bryson Ware is at 2nd, and Jake Ducart at 1st. Count now 1-2, and Azey really, Matt, hasn't given much for Falmouth to even swing the bat at.
A lot of breaking balls on the outside part of the plate to right-handed hitters in Malone and Hodo, and that's not what they want in a situation right now as a hitter. And then he comes in with the fastball to blow it by them with 2 strikes. So we'll see if he tries to do that with Hodo here.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs in the inning in a 3-3 ball game. The pitch home from Azey is popped up and out of play. So we'll do it all again. That's the first time that a Commodore's bat has been able to get onto a pitch from Azey. And Hodo just able to fight it off to see another pitch. So it'd be a big spot for Hodo to come up with his first RBI of the season for the Commodores. Here's the 1-2 again. Softly hit over on the right side. This is going to be a tough play for the Gateman. And everybody's safe as 2 come home to score for Falmouth. Chris Armstrong scores from 3rd, and scoring from 2nd is Bryson Ware. As Doug Hodo picks up his 1st and 2nd RBIs of the season for the Commodores. And all of a sudden, it's 5-3 Falmouth here in the bottom of the 8th.
Everybody here is on the edge of their seat for some kind of massive hit from this team with bases loaded and no outs. Yet, a couple outs, and all of a sudden, backs against the wall, and Doug Hodo, who showed up a couple of days ago, comes through with not a big hit. In the situation, it's a big hit, but off the bat, just a ground ball in the hole, and it's a tough play for the fielders to make, and it's an infield single that drives in 2 runs. You can't make it up, but just such an odd sequence to have a 2-run infield single as a go-ahead hit in the 8th, and the Commodores are looking for the big hit, and they finally get it.
That ball was so softly hit on the right side, but Kellum Clark was just playing so close to the bag that he had a long run to even get to it, and then he slid to it, and just a tough angle to even get a throw off. So Doug Hodo in the clutch here for Falmouth. As he's running on this pitch, no throw down to second. They're going to let him take second with Jake Ducart standing at third for the Commodores. They don't want to potentially allow that run to come home. So a smart move there from Jimmy Crooks to hold off on the throw. Is the count now 1-1 here on Braden Taylor. And this one softly hit again down the first base side. This time around, Kellum Clark able to make the field and the out on his own. But one of the biggest hits of the season for Falmouth comes from the new guy, Doug Hodo, with his first and second RBIs of the season. He gives Falmouth a 5-3 lead as we move into the 9th here from Gov Fuller Field. It's the 9th inning here from Gov Fuller Field, and the Commodores have the lead. A 5-3 ball game, and a brand new ball game at that after Doug Hodo picked up the huge base hit back in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs to bring home 2 runs for Falmouth. And Anthony DeFabia still on the mound here for the Commodores as he'll start things off against Cameron James for Wareham. And this one hit up the middle. Coming on is Boyers. Hesitates a bit, but in the end, able to make the grab, and there's 1 gone here. And the Gateman down now to their last 2 outs.
I think that hesitation actually helped him a little bit to line it up perfectly in his chest instead of having to sprint in and then have it go over his head, which is what we saw earlier in the game with an error from him. So plays this one just much better on a line hit right at him.
Here's Cade Fergus now for the Gateman, the 8-hitter in this lineup. And for Wareham, this really is not the part of the lineup they want up to try and come back and tie or potentially win this ball game with 7, 8, and 9 up, as DeFabia is really cruising right now on the mound. It's quickly 0-2 here on Cade Fergus. Fabia doesn't have a save this season, but he's on here and the opportunity for it. Count now 1-2, I should say. And a correction, actually can't pick it up here, so still can have a really good outing, though, which he's had so far. And he swings through it. Here's the throw from French, and there's 2 gone here in the inning.
Now batting the second baseman, number 28, Jim Jarvis.
Here's the 9-hitter, Jim Jarvis, representing the final out of this ball game. And the first pitch, a ball from DeFabia. But Falmouth constantly tonight finding itself fighting from behind here on this Gateman team. Found themselves behind 1 in the first inning, then jumped ahead, then trailed again by 1 in the 4th. And then it wasn't until the 6th that they were able to tie things up. And then the 8th, they finally got that big hit that they've been looking for all season long. Pitch to Jim Jarvis is in for a called strike. And the count now 2-1 here on the Alabama hitter. Make it 2-2, and all of a sudden, Wareham down to its final strike. DeFabia so solid tonight on the mound for Falmouth. Hit a batter and walked a batter in the 7th, but otherwise hasn't allowed a single guy to reach here tonight in his 2 2/3 innings. And a potential play here for French. It's going to end up finding its way into the seats, and count remains 2-2. And the count now full here on Jarvis. Commodores still up at the edge of their dugout. Watching on here as DeFabia looks for that final K of the night. Pitch home is lined into left center field. Coming over is Doug Hodo, and he makes the catch on the run to end this ball game. Falmouth has now won 3 straight games, and the doors are hot as it's back-to-back wins here at Gov Fuller Field, as the Commodores take down the Gateman by a final of 5-3 here at Gov Fuller Field.
Well, finally, the Commodores got the big hit with runners on base late in a game. Start an inning, bases loaded and no outs. Or bases loaded and 1 out, rather. You have guys on second and third with 1 out. Then you load up the bases. You get a strikeout. You have 2 outs back against the wall. Doug Hodo, infield single, drives in a run, and then an error drives in or brings in another, allows another to score. So when you put the ball in play, good things can happen with runners on base. That's what finally happened tonight. And hugs all around for this squad. I mean, just a comeback late in the game. Solid pitching from the bullpen throughout. Anthony DeFabia was unbelievable. And he just turned 19 2 days ago. So hard to imagine he's doing this to the competition that he's going at the age that he just turned. Incredible stuff from him. And finally, the offense pulls through late.
The start from Jasiak tonight, not the best start we've seen from him this season, and certainly one that he's probably not too happy with. Went 3 2/3 innings and gave up 3 runs, allowed 5 hits. But the bullpen again for Falmouth, so rock solid tonight. The Commodores now, over their last 3 games and over this win streak that they've built up, have pitched a total of 14 1/3 innings, have only given up 2 hits, have allowed 1 run, and have picked up now 13 strikeouts. The bullpen really starting to come to itself.
And DeFabia, after struggling in his last outing, not recording an out, giving up 2 hits, and both runners coming in to score, he responds with a tremendous outing tonight, picking up his 3rd win of the season, which now ties for the league lead. He's 3-0. That's his record. He pitched 3 innings tonight, didn't give up a hit, and only walked 1 and hit another batter. He struck out 2, didn't allow a run. So if you can get outings like that extended at the end of games, you're putting yourself and you're putting your team in a situation to win. That's what he did tonight. His offense pulls through for him. He picks up his 3rd win of the season, which now ties for the league lead.
So DeFabia gets the win tonight, and the loser tonight is the final pitcher for the Gateman and Kevin Acey, who gave up those 2 runs to Doug Hodo in the bottom of the 8th, and what ended up being the winning runs for the Commodores here in this ball game, as the Commodores win it by a final of 5-3 here over Wareham, and now the 2 teams are tied at 3rd place in the standings with 18 points apiece. Well, that'll do it for things tonight here from Gov Fuller Field, as the Commodores win their 3rd straight ball game and are back on the road for the next couple of days, as tomorrow night they'll be hitting the road to take on Brewster, and then on Saturday at Harwich before returning back to the Gov on Sunday to take on Hyannis. For my broadcast partner, Matt Levine, our sideline reporter, Joanne Bethay, our director, Sean Oldred, and our entire crew here in Falmouth, David Adar here signing off from Gov Fuller Field as the Commodores win it by a final of 5-3. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll catch you with us tomorrow night live in Brewster.